you want the food there.
It's absolutely detrimental to
When did I say that?
And I don't.
Government got enough to do. Like, Ron.
And they don't.
You don't
They
have
need
enough to do. Exactly. You don't have enough to do.
Government, I agree, there are some guardrails that are needed. I just don't think they need to usurp parental authority. That's number one. So then why don't we just go and say, well, some governments say that your kids can transition. How come government doesn't know best then?
Yeah. Because we're talking about Desantis. I mean, talking about a guardrail. So Desantis just signed legislation in Florida that prohibits people under 14 years of age from having social media accounts, regardless of parental consent. It's due to go into effect January 1st. He signed it today. The law requires social media companies to close accounts believed to be used by minors under that age, cancel accounts of minors 14 or 15 years old at the request of the minor or parents, and delete all information from the accounts. Minors who are 14 or 15 years old can obtain a social media account with parental consent. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. Did he go too far, or is this something you think is good to do?
I was a little confused of how this is going to work, because you have to get parental consent or parental request, or the child can request to have it canceled. I didn't understand, again, how it's working out.
Even with parental consent, if you are a child.
Well, he just said you can with parental consent. You can get
14 or 15.
Like over 14.
So below 14 is a no. Is that what you're saying?
Period.
So again, I said social guardrails. I think parents need to do that. I totally understand why I understand as a parent, as you know, as a responsible person, I totally understand why. I still gonna go back to my number one. As the government gets bigger, the people get smaller.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
Well, what's the difference in this and not say
social mores are basically from the community, from the family, not government ordained or government.
I was saying, what's the difference between, for instance, teenagers or 14, 15-year-olds are unable to drink. But there are situations where, or drive. Yeah. But for instance, for drinking. But if a parent is there and they say, oh, you know what, it's Christmas, you can have a glass of wine. They are, it's parental consent. Yeah. So there's the law. The government does say you cannot drink at a certain age. What's the difference between this and social media?
In that case, when children, young people, whatever, you're drinking, no inhibitions. Not only is there a social faction to that, there's also a biological faction. I'm not saying they're going to be drunks overnight. But they're also going out into the public where they're putting not only themselves at risk, but other people at risk.
Well, I'm not talking about driving. I'm talking about
even with drinking, well, your inhibitions are down. Right. So then they might get in the car and drive, or with no license, things like that. So there is a place, particularly when the public is at danger. There's government supposed to protect our borders.
Well, have you looked at the numbers for social media, the data behind it? Depression is up for social. Well, same thing with drinking and things, but the social media has led to an increase in depression, an increase in bullying, an increase in suicide, drug abuse. Then we're not even talking about the idea that, with the social media and with the way that the algorithms and things are leading to incorrect information. The left uses it to push, different things on social media. I mean, the numbers and the data behind this are astronomical. It's a public health concern.
When the government gets bigger, the people get smaller.
I agree there.
And so when the more rights we give and think that the government is supposed to mandate, then that gives up more of our parental rights. So again,
but isn't this? But you wouldn't say though that this is a situation where sometimes government does have to keep up with technology. So as we said,
government computers.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about, as we mentioned, you have the situation where social media was not around, nor was it many years ago. And so with it being around now, there are certain things that are just brand new, different things.
But that doesn't mean
may I finish? So teenagers need additional, like you mentioned, guardrails to protect them.
Guardrails, not necessarily government rails.
Yeah, ban it in the whole country for all young people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's from Russia, y'all.
Ban it.
You said you want to move there.
It's absolutely detrimental to
when did I say that?
And I don't care what you guys say about.
I said that I wanted to move to Russia.
Y'all.
I did not say that.
I think she did.
I did not say I wanted to move to Russia. I said we think that our country is better than Russia, and that may not necessarily be the case.
Yes, you did.
Y'all gonna have to find it to show me. I have never said said that I want to move to
We
Russia.
could go together. I will
I
show
have
you
never said that I
where
wanted
go.
to move to Russia. I've never said that.
I'll show you where to go, where you can buy a place.
Because I was saying something about we were talking about America. I was like, America, why would you move there? Yes,
Y'all,
you
I'm
did.
so glad we got things on record.
You
I
said
want us to find the
find it.
video that I said that I wanted to move to Russia. Anyway,
All right,
what
go
I
ahead.
will say is that government gets big. Government got enough to do. Like, Ron.
And they don't
You
do what
don't
they
have
need to
enough to
do.
do. Exactly. You don't have enough to do. And I agree. Like, I do not agree with kids being on social media. I understand that there is a lot of suicide, a lot of problems, bullying, self-esteem issues. That's why, I told my son he can't, have Instagram or anything like that. But it's just like, y'all just want to be their parents.
Preventing harm to minors from social media is responsible
It's the
governance.
responsible of the
parenting.
parents.
It's media, it's
And I said
conservative
before,
media
I'm
governance.
sorry.
So here's the
Go
thing.
ahead.
Pat Bet David actually said that he has social media for his child. He manages it completely, and he has it because his child is in media. His child does sports. So you are blocking a parent's ability
To be a parent.
To be a parent.
Well,
for different. I mean, if your child sucks and is following people on Instagram and TikTok and trying to worry about why her boobs are not, that's your conversation to have with them.
But you
there
just
are some
said that's
legit-
not what
there
you're
are
talking
some
about, though.
There are some legit parents that have aspirations and things that they want to do with their kids, whether it be sports, whether it be entertainment or anything.
Well, that's
And I
fine.
think that
That's
you
not
should
something
do
that
it.
this is not covering.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
No,
It's
it's
saying
not.
they can't have
You
it
just
regardless.
no, it
So
didn't. It's,
prior-
if you look into the, I'm sorry, I have you're next, John. If you look into the legislation, you just said Pat was running his child's social media.
And he
is
said it's going
perfectly
away.
fine. No, that's
He
not.
said that.
It's not going away. And there are a lot of misinformation about
Okay,
the
you might be
legislation.
right.
But if he's running his child's social media, that is fine. He can do that. You can have a page for your 6-month-old if you want to put all your business out there, your 2-month-old, whatever. But it's just saying your child cannot be on social media running it.
That's the
what it's
government
saying.
going to prevent that? He's going to go in your phone. Ron, you got better stuff to do.
Child depression is not is something
I've
I
said
believe.
this before.
I'm
Conservatives
sorry,
need to
John
be
is.
careful.
Right,
I'm
go.
John. Conservatives need to be careful about supporting big government just because we agree with the policy. It's still
It
big
is
government.
responsible,
I'm not saying
conservative government.
Are we going to
We just
stop
need to
the
be careful.
child from, your child, I see your child on social media.
I know how they're gonna do it. They're gonna put the cameras in
Yes!
the house. That's coming next.
No,
communist.
First of all, it's actually a way to protect
How?
the government too.
How?
Because if
Protect the
something
government?
works,
What do you mean?
because if for instance for bullying, so if there's a bullying issue going on,
They can't even protect bullying in school, in person. You worried about on social media.
They can certainly do that. There's a huge issue right
There are
now with
people
bullying
monitoring
in
social
school,
media for a
bullying online bullying for children. So if a situation comes up where there is a situation where a child is bullying another child, this falls back on the parents. So you should, the child should not, if they're at a certain age, they should not even have a social media account.
Parents decide that.
Casey,
But
get your man.
they should be able to shut it down instantly and take care of it. What were you going to say, Jan?
I mean, I already forgot what I was
I'm
supposed to say,
sorry.
but no, I'm sorry. Parents are not very smart. So
That's true. That's true.
They're not. And so majority of human beings are not very smart. That is just a fact of life.
That's true.
So sometimes there are people in the authority figure, like the government, they have to do certain things. Like, for example,
sorry,
with
this is still
drinking,
America.
with drinking laws, with the driving laws, with,
Protection.
Kids cannot buy a gun, for example. I mean, even if the parent says, well, he knows how to use it and he's very responsible. No, there's certain things, and you know what? I'm sorry, I have to say there's certain guardrails that need to happen, and people right now, they don't realize how bad it has become with children. Children are not okay. They're not okay these days.
And you think the government knows best?
Government's a great dad.
I think that some things we have to
Some things,
allow.
garbage. I agree with
yes,
some garbage.
that's
Do you think
what
the
I-
government knows best?
So in some cases,
But,
yes.
okay, why does this make the,
for
why does this
example,
make the difference? To usurp a parental
hold
authority.
on, in Florida, if people voted for this governor, he is representing the people. So, for example, if I agree with my representatives, I want them to be more strict on something like this, I'm perfectly fine
I got
with
it,
that.
but I want to ask you a question. And again, I want to ask, so if government, I agree, there are some guardrails that are needed. I just don't think they need to usurp parental authority. That's number one. So then why don't we just go and say, well, some governments say that your kids can transition. How come government doesn't know best then?
Because like I said, I mean, the people of Florida obviously voted for this.
Conservative.
So what? We just said people in Baltimore vote for foolish stuff too. That doesn't mean they know that was a good thing.
But okay, so in my opinion,
okay, there we go.
Since I'm a voter as well, and in my opinion, if there's a representative who is saying, you know what, social media is bad for children, and we should limit
the data supports it. The data supports it.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad. Y'all have plenty to do. Worry about your border. Worry about the economy. He's doing a great job with the schools. I love what he did with the unions. Those are all things that you're giving power back to the individual. So when you're saying, hey, teachers are not forced to go to DEI training, or teachers are not forced to join union, you're giving power back to the individual. I don't need your help raising my child. Thank you.
So, for example, they said that teachers should not teach gender theory in Florida, right? Okay, so I work in education. It is very hard to teach something to the kid when they go on social media and get a totally opposite message, and that message is way stronger than I'm one conservative teacher out of a million voices that they hear then on social media, and then they come back and they literally argue all day long about this issue.
I'm
telling
how
you,
the parents in this.
It's the same thing.
So you need help? Like, what do you
don't even realize
they don't realize it.
what they're looking at, what they're
Okay,
listening.
parents are stupid. Okay, parents
It's
are
the same
stupid.
thing as movies. Look at
Parents
movies.
are
There is
working,
a restriction.
Parents are not there.
And
Even
instead
if
of fixing that problem, government is a better parent.
Well,
of course.
it's
that
the
has
same-
worked. That has worked all the time.
It's the same thing with movies. I mean, there's a restriction on what your children can see in movie
has that
theaters.
ever stopped them from doing it?
Well, it has actually. It has.
we weren't around for those laws. Is what I
mean.
certain
It stopped me.
criteria, it actually lets the parents know, you know what, maybe I should watch this thing first and then decide whether I should show it to my kid.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for letting us know. Thanks for
Daddy,
instruction.
Big Daddy G.
Like I said,
You call Trump daddy anyway.
Oh yeah.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You always say daddy's home. What are you talking about? You should be right at home
He's
with
going to
it.
protect his
You call
citizens,
Trump daddy
not my
all.
child.
You call him daddy.
Yes, because
So-
he's going to protect his citizens.
And this is a protection of
He's
children.
going to protect.
And
I don't
this
need
is a
nobody
protection
protecting.
of children.
I can
If
protect my
government
children.
did what they were supposed to do, then parents wouldn't have to be pulled in so many different ways, so they can focus on raising their children. But now that government doesn't do much of what it's supposed to do, parents are like this and don't know whether they're coming or going.
What in particular are you talking about? Something the
I'm
government
saying
doesn't
the border,
do.
they
The
need to-
taxes.
But how
maybe
does that-
if we didn't have to have two incomes in a household, maybe if they did
focus
trade.
on the public schools in particular, get rid of all of the stuff that's not teaching or not educational, and focus on really reading, writing, arithmetic. Parents wouldn't have to be so overwhelmed.
Well, he's doing that already.
Empower the
DeSantis
teachers.
he just said he's got rid of gender.
They focus
gender.
on that and doing that well. Not
Yeah,
just
he's
saying
done-
That's what I said. He did a good job. Yeah, if you empower the
government
teachers.
is not doing. The federal government is not doing it. This is at a state level in his state. But you mentioned something about if the government was doing. He already getting rid of gender ideology in
school.
school.
What they need to do. I'm just saying, focus on what they need to do.
Yes.
Then parents wouldn't be pulled away. I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying there's so many things that compete for the time of children and parents, and we have to worry about X amount of things because our government doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
I agree there, but if we're talking about, we're not talking about the federal government. We're talking about state government.
Even the state government.
Well, I'm talking about in particular to this
we have
this
kids
story.
who can barely read, and parents don't even realize it. And you think that parents are going to be really on top of what's going on in social media.
And you think they're going to do better?
The government's going to be on top
We
of
gotta
it.
do something about it.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the government's responsibility to protect.
protect.
That is
Protect
one
the
thing they
border.
are
Protect the
supposed to do.
borders.
They are
Protect our
supposed to protect
borders.
us safety. They're supposed to protect us in things like this. And so
They
again,
can't
there's
do it.
no difference in this in a movie or
Yes,
saying
the
kids
safety
can't
word
drink
has
or
gotten a
things.
lot
Okay, go ahead.
of
I'm sorry, what you
Go ahead,
saying?
I'm sorry, KJ. Go ahead and drink my drink. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's no difference in between this and the government. You know, you can't see a R-rated movie. Your kid can't smoke. Your kid can't drink.
Yeah, it's
This
a
is
difference.
conservative governments, in my opinion. It's just in my opinion.
And the government has not been able to prevent any of those things.
Not one
So
bit.
Well,
pass
maybe
all the laws you
you-
want. Hey, Ron, I'm not a hater. Pass all the laws you want. So all the kids, now my kids know how to do, Mommy, what's your date of birth? And then they just scroll and they put in the date of birth so they can get into the app. I mean, like,